guess what I've got? Yes, after a great deal of thought and deliberation as to what type of lift I'm going to get, I finally got myself a scissor lift. So this is an EAE MR35, so it's a 3.5 ton lift. There is an MR30, I think there is, which is a 3 ton lift, but with Frank topping out over 3 tons when he's fully laden, I didn't really want to max the lift out just in case I ever have to lift him up when he's got like packed full of gear. So this is the 3.5, only cost a couple of extra £100, I think, for the MR35. And what an amazing piece of kit this actually is. I did look on eBay at all the different scissor lifts you get. This is a mid-rise lift, so it comes up to about 1 metre, so about up here, which is still higher than I can actually get it with Frank with a tyre on top anyway, because we've got quite a low roof here. It's only 3 metres or just over 3 metres in height here. So the lift is absolutely ideal for what I need. I've got it with a mobile kit, so I can lift it and move it around using the little rod over there and the wheels, and the extra lifting blocks as well to get it a little bit higher off the ground. These blocks here, which are slightly bigger, obviously with Frank and all the vehicles I'm doing are 4x4s, so they're all a bit higher. And it is an amazing bit of kit. The upside of the MR35 is that the MR35 comes with a full enclosure for all the hydraulics and electrics and all that kind of stuff, whereas the MR30 I think is kind of an open unit where you can see the hydraulic container and all that kind of stuff. So I've kind of wanted to have the covered up version with the sort of like case for everything. I think it's just a bit neater, especially with all the dust and stuff flying around when I'm doing sandblasting and all that kind of thing as well. Runs off 240, so just plugs straight into the wall, which is great. So even though I had 3-phase setup, because I was going to go with a 2-post lift, as you'll see, I actually did measure up on the floor where everything was going to go. The 2-post was just simply not going to really fit in here. It would have worked to a degree, but I think it would have just got annoying. It was in the way. I don't think it was going to be able to provide me what I actually needed. And it was a very, very tight fit, so the scissor seemed to be a much better idea. It's a bit crooked, you'll see at the moment, because I drove on it earlier on and it just budged out the way slightly. So I am actually going to straighten it up and attach it to the ground. It's a full mobile kit, so it can be moved around. It's bloody heavy. It got delivered by the guys at Milton, so I'll put a link in the description. Absolutely top guys, honestly, really, really genuinely lovely guys. They did a great installation. They showed me how to use everything, how to maintain everything. They're just a really nice bunch of people. They were recommended to me by my local garage, who I've been using for many, many years, and they were absolutely right to do so. Lovely guys, highly recommend them. They do all sorts of lifting equipment, and you'll see on their website, I'll stick a link in as well. They do 2 posters and everything. So that got installed. I am going to attach it to the ground, so I can, once this is lifted up, there's some holes underneath, and I can actually drill it into the ground just to stop it from moving around quite so much when I drive over it with Frank and the other cars, because obviously it does move somewhat. Lifts very quickly. I won't show you the full lift, but I think it's about 30 seconds to full lift. Once it's on. It's the first one, second one. And there we go, that's the max height. So that is literally my waist, that is. So that's perfect for what I need. I don't need it any higher than that. You know, for me, it's great. I can get underneath it with a little scuttle stool, and I can get literally underneath Frank. I can do diffs and whatnot. Imagine he's there. It's a fantastic bit of kit. I'm absolutely over the moon with it, and I've used it loads already. I've got all the stuff off it now, just to sort of show you guys and do a bit of a video. But the first up on it is Frank, which you'll see in this video. We're going to do the lower control arms. And my God, it made life an awful lot easier. So yeah, at last, got a lift. Highly recommend it. Great bit of kit. Great people from Milton. And yeah, would highly recommend. So let's get Frank in here and do those lower control arms. Right, I've got the car up on the ramp. Let's see if we've got any movement. Nothing top to bottom, wheel bearing feels fine. Oh, that's not good though. I wonder where that is. Can't quite see where that is. Kind of do with somebody else to wiggle the wheel for me, really. That feels like a tie rod. Where are you, tie rod? Here's your tie rod. That doesn't look that old. That one, but a bit inverted. But it might be right by the time I finish editing it. Let's see whether you can see what this is. Is that obvious? Right, I reckon it is this lower control arm. It's here. I can't zoom in, but I think it's this. So keep a careful eye on that. While we're at it, I'm just going to have a quick check this side, just make sure, because it was always the right hand side it felt like it was going. Oh, bloody hell. I was worried that might be the wheel bearing, but that's not, that's flipping. How far can I do that? I can't. Holy shit. That's mega. No wonder it's all over the place. Bloody hell. So this is the passenger side wheel, left hand side wheel, for all my American friends. Where's this one going? Oh, that might be a wheel bearing. Shit. Let's have a look. Right, I don't think it's wheel bearing. I think it's literally both those bottom control arms. So I did both those control arms. Well, I didn't, I had them done. And they're both gone already. So that's the main lower one there. Jesus. Here we go. Right, okay. Gonna get my light. Oh, there we go. Yes, control arms. Right. I'm gonna try and get you in there as best I can. It's not easy. Right. Hopefully we can see this. Put my glasses back on. These bushes don't look too bad. Can't really get you in there, but they're not like shot or anything. They are. Or are they? I don't even know they are. So when doing this, if you pull the wheel on the horizontal plane, on the vertical plane like that, if you're getting movement, then obviously it's part of the bearing, because there is nothing else that it can be along here unless you've got the lower strut or something like that is loose or something, which is very obvious. But I've got no vertical play at all. It's all horizontal. So I'm pretty sure that it's not the wheel bearing, even with these giant wheel spacers on. I'm pretty sure it's these lower control arms. They're not particularly expensive. It's a pain in the arse job, but you know, I didn't do the last one and it got me through Pyrenees. So I guess this time I've got to do it myself. So for the lower control arm, I've got to get that out. That will take this front lower control arm out. And then there's a nut bolt the other end. And this one looks like it is. Is it 2 bolts in there, is it? Do you know what? That one might just be a ball joint. Because sorry about the glare. The bushing's okay. The ball joint looks like it's in good condition, but that front lower control arm contains the ball joint, so that's just going to have to be replaced. This rear one, the ball joint is separate and bolted on. Right, so I've checked that. It's a 22, same as the wheel nuts on that bottom ball joint. That's tight, and I've checked the 2 nuts to hold the base of the ball joint onto the actual main hub assembly, which is a 15, the 215 mil. It's all tight. So for the sake of it, if I'm going to get under here, do I just change the ball joint? I think what I might do, I'm in no rush to get Frank back on the road at the moment because I've bought my other car, so I've got a daily driver, so this can stay here for a while. That was the kind of the point of having the ramp. So I think I'm going to get the front lower control arm and a ball joint separately for the rear front control arm. If it comes as a full set, I might get the full set because I think they're not particularly expensive for obvious reasons by the looks of it. And then if it's just the ball joint, I'll change the ball joint. If it's the control arm as well, because what I'm wondering is whether the hole where the ball joint pin goes through the lower control arm, whether that witness mark I'm seeing is where there's been enough play and it's made that hole elliptical, and that's why it's moving within that. So it may not even be the ball joint, it might actually be just cheap lower control arm. So let me have a look at that. I think I'm going to order some of them up. It's likely to be the same both sides. I mean, Frank did some off-roading. I mean, yeah, we did some proper rock crawling in Spain and the Pyrenees. So he certainly earned his excuse for getting through some ball joints, although they were brand new before we went. So, you know, it's not a great show for those ball joints, is it? Anyway, so let me have a look. I'm going to order them up, and we're going to come back to this in a couple of weeks. It might just be right now. Good afternoon, everybody. It is another fine day. It must be a balmy 4 degrees in here today, so you can't even see my breath. How wonderful. So I've had a few of the parts turn up, which has been useful. I thought it was all of them, but it is not. Is the steering knock off? I think it's steering knock's back on. We've got some lower control arms which have turned up. I've bought Delphi parts. I've had quite a few Delphi parts in the past and I've been quite pleased with them. So I think they're going to be okay. So with the Delphi control arm set, you get the upper and the lower. I'm not really sure why they call them upper and lower because they're both at the same level actually. That one's slightly higher I suppose, but either way. Should just be front and rear, but either way. So it comes with bushings for both of the control arms. And this front one, or the lower control arm, I'm guessing is probably that one. That comes with the ball joint as well, already pressed in. The rear one, or this bigger one, the bigger control arm, that comes with a bushing but does not come with a ball joint. So I've had to just order those separately. And I've ordered some Lemformer ones, I think it's Lemformer ones, which are not the cheapest, but they're not Land Rover OEMs. I've heard lots of good things about them, and let's just see how they go. So what I'm going to start doing is just starting to strip down things I need to get off. It is a relatively straightforward job. You don't need to overcomplicate things, and you also don't need to do everything all at once. It's very tempting to strip off all the control arms and have this thing flopping about and in the way, and everything just becomes a bit more difficult. So you don't need to do that. First things first, do not forget to take off your height. Can you see those where my hand is? Yeah, your height adjustment sensors. So these are the arms that go up to these sensors. If you forget to take it off, you're going to give that a good old wrench and you'll wreck those. And in my experience, they are not particularly robust. I'm on my second set all round, I think, of height level sensors. So yours might look slightly different to these because I've got I think Proud Rhino ones, I think they're called. These are metal, slightly longer lifting rods, which tricks the car into thinking it's lower to the ground, which raises it up. All that kind of palaver, which I didn't actually need to do in the end because I can do it on the gap tool. So all you need to do is just pop this off. It comes off this nipple here. You prise that off, pull it forward, so add a bit of penetrant on there, which I've already done all round. Pull that off and just pop that over the steering rack or just somewhere out the way so it's not going to get damaged. You also don't want this flipping around, going around that side, because it's a whole world of pain. The car starts getting a bit confused and a bit pissed off. So this has got to come out. I'm then going to start with my front lower control arm here. I'm just going to keep calling this the front one because it's the one nearest the front of the car, which is literally that one nut at the top there, and then the one nut and bolt there. The rest should come out okay. It's only been in there 12 months, so it shouldn't be too much of a pain in the butt to get out. However, I am just going to literally just turn the steering wheel so I've got a bit better access to this side. Right, so now I can get to everything a little bit easier. In fact, I can actually turn it myself now. Right, so I'm going to start off by taking this off. That's my first thing to do. So there we go. So he'll sit up there, out the way, quite happily, like that. Right, that's that one done. You may need to switch that over into the new lower control arm. Just grab the new one to see what it comes with. So that's, yeah, so it doesn't come with a thing. Which side is that? Gosh, they look straight. They're the same part number. I don't know if they are, but they are actually in fact the same both sides. So they are transferable, which makes life a bit easier. So yeah, I've got one already. It's already got the ball joint in there, as you can see there, like that. Decent quality bushing. It's got Delphi actually printed on there as well. So I'm not sure which ones these were. I didn't put them on, but I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later what they're going to be. Other than that, I've taken both wheels off as well. I think that's worth doing, mainly because you then haven't got the other wheel pulling down on that anti-roll bar so much, which isn't like causing any issues. In my head, that makes sense to take them both off, so it's just kind of got the even weight both sides, and then I can change them both. So I need to get, which should we go off first? Let's get this one off first, which looks like an 18 or something along those lines. There we go. Right. There we go. That's that nut off. Now we're going to get that off. Whoa, we've got a split boot there. I wonder if that's why. That might be a bit crappy. So I'm not going to worry about taking that off just yet because it's in a useful position, so I can undo that. So the next thing will be to take that one off. What size is that? Right. Okay. That's that one off. That's a fairly hefty one. What surprises me, when you get these bolts in, you can see that, hopefully that's in focus, they're all threaded. There's no shoulder on them. What seems a bit odd, I would expect to have a shouldered bolt that goes through. But maybe it's not the right bolt for the car. Right, so that's that one done. I'm going to lever it off. There we go. Right, so now we've got to get that. Yeah, that's really loose. Hang on. Although there's no play in it. Yes, there is. Yeah, there is. Right, let's get that down. hoping that can just come out quite easily, but we'll see. Don't want to damage the CV boot, really. Right. One out is knackered. Don't you can see that. I'm going to bring that close. That's just like knackered. There's actually a split in that, but you can hear water in it. Right, so I don't want to fanny about too much. So ideally, what we want to try and do is get this back on sooner than later. I need to get transfer the bolt across for the height sensor. So I'm going to do that quickly off camera. I got that off, gave it a bit of a clean up, popped it back on, used a nylock and a washer because it was just a crappy thingy. So let's get that nut and bolt. In fact, I'm just going to give that a clean up as well because that's just the kind of person I am. Now, these new Delphi ones, they have a pin hole at the top, not an Allen key. So when you bang them in, they need to go in and stay pretty strong on there. So, just going to get the new, can you stay there? So get that in. Let's get this into the right place. Like. Okay. Right. Now that should go up in there. Let's get a screwdriver in there. Right, that's in the right position. Big bolt in. Lovely. There we go. Right, so that's the front one done. The front lower one. I think the other one's going to be worse, personally, but we'll see. Let's get that one tightened up. I might just have myself a coffee after this. Right, there you go, that's on there. Last but not least, let's get the, get the level sensor arm on there. There we go. That's the front one done. Nice and easy. It wasn't particularly complicated. Access is a bit of a pain. If you've got the drive shaft in, you can't really get to the top of it. You wouldn't be able to get a puller in there easily. So best thing to do is just push the boot out the way and get a something decent to smack it with. I used a pointed chisel to get in there and just give it some beef. And then it'll come out. So that's that one done. Really, there's no... There's no rocking whatsoever. Do I change the other one? That's the question, isn't it? That was the one that had the issue. Interesting. I'm not a bodger, but I'm also not going to go and change something for no reason. If that bush is okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to do the other side. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's exactly the same thing, just in reverse. And then I'm going to pop the wheels on and just see what kind of movement I still get. I had a funny feeling I had some movement in the rack, but yeah, is what it is. So let me do that, get the other one on, and then let's see where we stand. Right, so I've got the other lower control arm done on the other side now as well. And that was probably just about as easy to do. The actual ball joint nut didn't want to come off particularly easy, but it got there in the end. That side, I've got the wheel back on as well now, so I've just done that lower control arm, not done the rear one or the upper one, whatever you want to call it. So this side, if you remember what it was like, I'll stick a clip in it here now as to what it was like. And this is what it's like now. So that's just the lower control arm I've done. There is still something very, very minor that is, I think, it's inner tie rods. It's not those bushes, it's not those, there's not enough play there. That's a hell of a lot better than it was. I think it's inner tie rods. So I've had the outer tie rods done on this, I think. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're reasonably new, these outer tie rods. I think the inner tie rods, I think that might be where there's some slack. So I'm going to lower this down now onto its suspension, and then I'm going to basically just torque up these control arm bolts, the nuts on those, these ones here, so that they are torqued up. And then I'm going to see how it drives, to be fair. I'm just going to see if that has made that difference. It's definitely the knocking will have stopped, I'm pretty sure. If it hasn't, then, you know, I can always change those other bushes. But to be honest, it seemed a bit ridiculous changing those other things. I've got them to put them on whenever I want to, so I can put them on. But it does seem a bit pointless changing them if there's nothing wrong with them. Now, the ball joint on the driver's side, or the right-hand side, the ball joint of that lower control arm, that wasn't really damaged. So I think the knocking I'm getting from that side, so I think the knocking I've been getting is from that damaged ball joint from this side. But from the other side, I think it still might be those inner tie rods. Let me show you what it's like that side. It's not... Still definitely something there. It is better. But I can't work out where that movement is coming from, which is very annoying. The only place I can see it moving is the inner tie rod. So I'm going to get this on the ground, get underneath it and quickly torque those up. I don't know what the torque is on those at the moment. I'm going to look it up in a second, and then take it for a quick spin and see if it's any different. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to do the inner tie rods myself, but I'll research it. Definitely a hot smell coming from this car. I'm not entirely sure what that is. And I'm done for a day. So I'm quite pleased with that, actually. One, it's less work, so I'm always pleased with less work because that's heavy. But it just goes to show you don't necessarily have to change everything. There is still some play in that front. I think it's those inner tie rods, but not that's noticeable. I'll take it on a longer drive and we'll see whether I do actually still notice it. But for the time being, those front or those lower control arms, they weren't particularly difficult to do. You could do that on your driveway. Yes, I've got a ramp now, but you can get it up on ramps or on axle stands. You can do it. It's just it's a big, heavy car, and everything's heavy and difficult to get to. So it is a driveway job. Literally, it's one nut and bolt through the top, slipping off the height level sensor, and one ball joint from underneath, which you have to knock out. So other than that, that is it all you have to do, and then tighten it up once it's got the weight on the car. So I'm pleased with that. So I'm going to end this video now, I think, before I break something else, and we'll pick it up again when I could do the brake shield. So thanks for watching the video. I hope it was some use to somebody who's got similar problems. It just goes to show you it's not necessarily a particularly difficult problem. It can just be a heavy, dirty problem. But so thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.